Aloha. My name is
Aloha.
Bonnie, and this is Jolie. Aloha, Jolie.
Aloha. Hello. How are you?
Well, I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm I'm here. A little tired, but here. Oh
I
no,
think you
you
froze for a
froze.
second.
Oh, there you are.
Oh, okay, you're back. We
Okay.
missed how you're doing, or at least I missed how you're doing.
I'm doing well. I've had a long day, but still smiling. So it's been a good
Oh,
one.
thank you. Well, thanks so much for
Yeah.
taking the time to just chat with me a little bit. And this is our sustainability talk story podcast. And just tell us a little bit about yourself. This podcast is, I'll let you tell us and then I'll ask you more questions. So just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do. And you grew up here in Hawaii. Tell us about your journey a little bit.
Yeah. I'm a special ed preschool teacher at Laie Elementary. I also am the Aina team coordinator for like garden and nutrition curriculum at the school. Um, I love to surf. I dance hula with you, with Bonnie.
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, and I just enjoy all things outdoors and wellness. And I also just got my certification in foundation training. So, you know, kind of trying to grab that whole picture of wellness and live in it and help others through it. So, yeah, that's a bit about me. And
Cool.
and here we are.
Amazing. And tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up here in Hawaii, because I did not. So share a little bit of your experience or, your things that just stick with you from being from Hawaii.
Um, Gosh, I just think of empty beaches, empty beaches, empty roads, things that we don't see very much anymore. But
Yeah.
yeah, just, all that nostalgia that you associate with like an older Hawaii of, people with the boards on the roof, everybody's just hanging out, watching the surf. I grew up surfing a lot. My dad's a surfboard shaper. And so we were in the water all the time. Um, a lot of community, a lot of community. I know that we have a pretty strong community and there are pockets of different interest areas and things now, but I just remember, the neighborhood being such a strong unit growing up. And, yeah, a lot of family get-togethers, a lot of friend type of gatherings, but mostly lots of surfing. That's just what I remember.
So that's
Um, and,
amazing.
yeah, my mom's a musician too, so I got to spend a fair bit of in town as well. So like in
Hmm.
our city, which depending on where you're from, may not even consider a city, but so kind of half in that old school Hawaii, like Waikiki vibe, and then half in the country with the beach people. And yeah, it was a blessed childhood, that's for sure. Very lucky.
Oh, that's amazing. You mentioned the word community a lot, and I really feel like I never experienced or really never understood what that meant, like what a real community is until I came here to Hawaii.
Hmm.
And it took me a while. It took me a long time but the longer that I was here, like the more I understood what that was. And I feel like I really learned that here.
And
So
why
yeah.
would you say that is? Like, what is it about Hawaii that is more conducive to community?
I don't know. That's a good question because it could also it could also be my journey, right? And, um, you know, as you get older, you prioritize things differently. And, when
Hmm.
you're younger and in your teens and 20s, those things like community don't seem very important.
Right.
So I was,
Totally.
it could also be partly that, but I think also people here hold their community very tightly. And
Definitely.
yeah, yeah. And I've
Yeah.
never really experienced, I think what's cool too is when you do have this kind of community and it is tight knit, there's also a sense of accountability that is, you don't find other places when it's not, when people don't know each other or
Totally.
when things don't, affect you as directly maybe as, they do here when you're on a small island. Everything affects each other a lot more closely than when you're more spread out. So
the accountability goes both ways, maybe a positive and a negative thing.
Exactly. Yes.
I wonder too if it's yes, we are such a small area physically, and we do have quite a bit of transient action going through. So I think that the people that do stick around are they stand out. They're there. You notice them through the seasons that they're, and then also we have so many things that take us outdoors. We're always seeing each other,
That's true. You're right.
We're all surfing. Maybe you're part of the yoga community. Maybe you're part of the farmers market community, all of these things where we see each other all the time and start to build that. And then, age too.
Yeah, no, I think you're right though, being outside all the time and, not kind of like hunkering down at home at certain times, just having that freedom to just be out and about and see each other all the time makes a big difference too. Yeah. Oh, well, tell us a little bit about what I really want to talk about today is Aina in the schools. So, tell us about that program and kind of how you got into it, got associated with it, and how that you kind of found this, your sustainability journey. And
so Aina in Schools is one of the components of Kokua Hawaii Foundation, which was started by Jack and Kim Johnson. And it's a nonprofit that is it's based on environmental stewardship, or, just waste reduction, education, plastic free type of things, just connecting the entire farming community with the community, with the public, with just getting, knowing that living a life that's closer to the source, closer to the way that nature intended us to live, is a healthier path to be on. So Aina in Schools in particular is their education outreach, one of their outreach arms. So it's comprised of garden, nutrition, and compost lessons made for elementary school students. There has been involvement with us high school students and things like that, but primarily it's a elementary curriculum. And it's been through many phases. At first it was kind of run on this volunteer docent thing where Aina provided the curriculum and the materials and everything, and the parent volunteers came in and taught it. And since COVID, that model has changed a little bit. It's become a little bit more teacher-led. But I got into the program probably about 10 or 11 years ago when I started working at the school. I was fresh out of college, and an aunt of mine called and said, "Hey, there's this opportunity at the school. It's just a part-time office position." So I was kind of the catch-all person. My desk was right between the vice principal and the principal's office. And so I kind of just got the kickbacks of all of those things that they just didn't have time for. Like the Title I program, all of these like small little things. And then Aina landed on my desk and I was like, okay, this is cool. So I kind of started being the communication liaison between Kokua Hawaii Foundation and the teachers and the volunteers and kind of coordinating that. And then the more involved I became, I started teaching it and, volunteering in the classroom. Slowly but surely made my way through all of the grades and just fell in love because it just so happened to be timed with my own personal health journey where I was noticing some changes in my body I wasn't really happy with. They made me curious. How can I improve my health? Why am I experiencing these things at such a young age? And what can I do about it? So I had just naturally found myself interested in food and nutrition and those types of things. And then lo and behold, I've got this program that I'm teaching kids, like I wish that I had been taught how to live closer to nature, how to eat closer to the way nature had intended us to. I wish I knew how to grow food. I wish I had been a little bit more connected. Luckily, I did grow up in a place that is very nature centered, right? Like being in the ocean all the time, being in the forest all the time. But a lot of those, unless you're part of a farming family or a family that gardens, you don't really get that experience. And so anyway, I fell in love with teaching kids about healthy eating and how to grow the food that is best for you to eat, and like having a lot of epiphanies about so many systemic issues with health and things like that, especially in our local communities, that with just a bit of awareness, just a bit of education, a little bit of access to this type of information could make all the change, all the difference in the world. So, I had a kid come up to me.
Can I pause you 1 second?
Yeah.
Can we pause there? Because that made me think of, and let's go back to, but, this idea of making healthy food more accessible. Right. And, I think a lot of us know and have experienced, or we've seen, and, both of us kind of didn't grow up with those kinds of lessons and that knowledge. And, eating healthy can be very expensive, and it can be elitist. Let's just put it that way.
And it still is, even with all of these things, I tell people how much I spend at the grocery store. They're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But it's, for me, it's worth it at this point in time, because I know that it's like pay a little bit now or pay the medical bills later, which are going to come,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's my choice that I make. But in the meantime, trying to make it more accessible, trying to make it more normalized, trying to change the way that we use our spaces, use our yards, use our playgrounds, so
right, because if they can grow it themselves, then it's no longer elitist, it's no longer inaccessible.
I've got a kale plant in my garden box that's been a soldier. It's been alive for 3 years. It's been through 2 summers of me completely neglecting it. And it's producing so much that I'm actively like, guys, come on, come pick it. So that's the kind of abundance that you can have when you just have a basic understanding of growing food. And I know that it's, there's kind of a barrier to it when people don't grow up with that information. They're like, I don't know where to start. I don't have a green thumb. All of those fears that come up, but it really is such a simple process that you learn as you go. And and then you'd be surprised, going back to the kids, because this is it's kids education that we're specifically interested with Aina. Of course, it touches their parents and the community, but with kids, the biggest barrier to healthy eating for kids is just their attitude about it. Like, ew, like they didn't grow up eating salad, maybe, they didn't grow up eating fruit as snacks. So their taste buds are not developed for those things. And then 2, kids snub anything that they're not familiar with. So, but you would be surprised what they'll try if they've either had a part in growing it or making it. So I've seen both, like kids that are just, ew, yucky, gross. And then they're trying a radish because they just grew it. And like, I wouldn't just straight up eat a radish out of the ground, but these kids are, because they're like, I grew this. I watched it go from a seed. I watered it every day. I shooed the chickens away from it as it was growing. And, they developed this relationship with these plants, and they're like, okay, well, they understand, like, I don't want to see this go to waste. I just put so much into it. So I'm going to at least try it or take it home. And then the same for, grades 2 and grade 6 do nutrition. And so they don't take part in growing it. They see it around campus, but, there's a healthy snack recipe with every single lesson that they get in nutrition, in the nutrition grades. And there's this one called Bird's Nest Salad, which is a purple cabbage cup with shredded carrots and broccoli and I think it's pumpkin seeds and all that. And you're just like, these kids are not going to eat this. Like no dressing, nothing. And you're just thinking like, wow, this is going to be it's pretty. It's a rainbow. Yeah. It's a little rainbow boat, but you're like thinking in the back of your mind, like, man, I should have brought some ranch dressing or something for these kids, but because they participated in breaking the food apart, touching it, looking, oh, wow, look at how cool this is, chopping things. They get so excited because those aren't things that we as adults usually allow them to do because it's dangerous, right? Or they get in the way or, so the kids kind of miss out on that, like that sensory tactile process and the curiosity of looking at this thing that by the time it gets to their plate, they're snubbing it, but like they don't see the process of like what it actually takes. And every time I've taught that lesson, I have at least half the kids like, wow, this is really good, and then the rest of them actually try it. And it's baby steps, right? Like you're hooking them, you're giving them a little bit of exposure that they can then now maybe they're in the market with their parents and they're like, hey, I know, like I tried that. That's good, and I see it all the time. So, it really goes a long way to just bring a little bit of exposure, when they're young and get them involved in the process and, making them realize it's easier than they think to grow it at home. It's easier than they think to, reach for that close to the source snack or just have access to healthy food. It's there. So, yeah.
That's so cool.
It's been pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. And just all of those experiences that you're talking about, like, that was, we didn't have that in school when I was that age. We're so disconnected. I grew up so disconnected from food and
nature.
in general. I mean, I think I was 40 the first time I had a date in my life. And I was like, what? This is so delicious.
Nature's candy.
Literally, and I love sugar. I love sugar. And why would my parents not have given me a date? Like maybe they just didn't eat them. I don't know, but
because we're not advertised. Dates aren't advertised,
And they look scary too.
They do. They look like prunes.
They might have tried. It's possible.
I've had prunes. I don't like those, but dates kind of look on that spectrum. You're like, I don't know.
Yeah, they kind of look like cockroaches, like big dead cockroaches.
I wasn't going to say it, but it's true.
But they are delicious. They're great in smoothies.
Oh yeah. Stuff them with peanut butter,
So many. Yeah. Literally like 40 years before I tried a date. It was amazing. Life changed. So you're offering it at Laie Elementary. What other or how many other schools are involved in this program? Or about?
I can't tell you exactly. And I don't even want to throw a ballpark number out there. I think the last time, like pre-COVID, I want to say they had about like 15-ish schools, but that's large ballpark. I don't have those exact figures, but really easy to find out. I know that they have their participating schools on their website, kokohawaiifoundation.org. Also,
thank you for throwing that on.
Yes, yeah, for sure. And let me just go ahead and silence that phone. kokohawaiifoundation.org, and through there you can see all the components that they have. And Aina in Schools is one of those. And I know you can go through and find all kinds of stuff. one pearl of COVID was that a lot of it went virtual, or like they started using a lot more of that, leading into like the video, leaning into more of the media. So really exciting in that way.
That is. Mm-hmm. So do you know if it's, has it extended at all beyond Hawaii yet? Or do you know of any other programs that are similar?
So I know that they take part in, they do travel to the mainland for conventions and those types of things, like Farmers for America, those kind of things. I don't know exactly. I haven't been involved in those. I'm not sure that they have the Aina in Schools program specifically at any mainland schools, but I do know that they're represented in the mainland. So they do take part in a lot of these things. And so it's just kind of getting the name out there and partnering with other programs, because they're out there, you know, like, so exactly. Aina in Schools does have schools on other islands, but last time I was in Maui, I saw a farm to school program that wasn't Aina, and they were participating. They, you know, they had a bunch of schools participating. So it's a movement. It's kind of becoming a tidal wave, you know, farm to school, farm to table. It's thank goodness it's coming. But again, it's all about that exposure and the education, and not just going through the adults who, you know, may or may not have an interest in it. Really teaching kids young, and so that we don't have to reverse the issues that come with the disconnect from healthy food. Instead, just starting them on the right page. Yeah.
Well, and if somebody's interested in being involved or bringing it to their school, would you suggest they visit the website? And is it pretty easy to?
It's super easy to get in contact with them. The Kokua Hawaii Foundation team is a really tight-knit team. They've all been part of it from the beginning. Not all of them, you know, there are some new components, but the major backbone of they've been there from the beginning. And they're always looking to expand to new schools, always looking for volunteers. They have I'm pretty sure every weekend is some sort of community work day. I don't know if it's like an open to the community, or they've got certain groups coming in. So there's always volunteer opportunities at the Kokua Learning Farm. But as far as at the individual schools, if your school already has it, you can ask, you know, just ask the teacher, ask admin. I know that at Laie, where, you know, again, through COVID, we couldn't have parent volunteers. We couldn't really have volunteers on campus, just, you know, with the restrictions and everything. But now that that's eased up, Kokua is still not, they're not advocating the docent-led model, but gladly accepting volunteers. So for my school, you know, we kind of elected to do mostly teacher-led model, but the teachers that are interested and that have been a part of it and remember how fun it was to have the parents come in, they're recruiting volunteers like as we speak. And we also have an open house tomorrow. I know that that's going to be a big, so if you guys have open house and those types of things, like reach out to the teacher. You can talk to your admin at any time and just say, hey, like, have you guys thought about a farm to school program? And have, you know, it's really easy to communicate with Kokua. They're like, communication is like the main part of the program. So definitely reach out with a phone call and email, walk into the shop. They have a storefront now in Hollywood.
Yes.
So.
Cool. Let me see if I have any more questions. Okay. What can we do to support? I think those are all the questions that I had. Do you have anything else you can think about that is important to share about Aina in the schools or Kokua Hawaii or anything, or the program, or just your takeaways?
I mean, I like how all encompassing it's been, you know, like I mentioned earlier, Kokua has more than just Aina in schools, you know, like they do, like their waste reduction component is phenomenal. Like,
Yes.
not only do they like help to coordinate recycling events at schools where they welcome the community to bring like old steel, old computer, electronics, clothes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
That's cool.
they're called Aloha Aina recycling drives. And usually they'll just
Okay.
send out a flyer or something. You'll probably hear most about what Sunset Beach Elementary is doing, because that was the pilot school. That's like the ground zero for this program. So they're like really, you'll see it in the North Shore News and publications like that. But if your school is participating in that, just look out for it. It'll happen at some point in the year. And they also have school cafeteria waste reduction. So they'll come in and work with the school, work with the custodians, the lunchroom staff to work on like composting, getting, like really taking a look at how much, because it's awful how much is wasted every day in a school cafeteria. It's horrible. So they come in and they create these composting systems. They create this, like how you separate things out, and they weigh things, and it's pretty cool. Our school has not participated yet. That is something that I really want to get into. It's just a big old project. And as I'm a full-time teacher at the same time, that will baby steps, but I really do want to do that because, again, COVID restrictions lifted, we're back in the cafeteria, and I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
This is crazy. But, so that's one thing that I find really, really cool about the Kokua Hawaii Foundation web. But also I think just to end it, I really feel like not only are we planting the seed of healthy living in these kids, right?
Literally.
But we're also fostering those healthy, happy, genuine relationships around the concepts of food and gardening and farming, composting, waste reduction. You have to kind of see it to know what I'm talking about. But like, remember when I first started volunteering in the classrooms, I couldn't walk down the hallway without being like, Auntie Joli, what are we doing? Aina again. I miss you. Look at our kale. Look how much it grew. Or like, just all of those types of things that like, they melt your heart, and you know that those are the types of things that they're remembering. It's that the vehicle of that emotional relationship that is also being built, and like really anchoring the importance of this in these kids. And that's what I live for. Like I love that part of it. Last year we started an after school program, and I started a garden club through it. And it was kind of for the more at-risk youth that, kind of needed more, they needed more mentorship, more healthy relationships in their life. And, like we were just messing around in the garden. At first I was like, okay, we got to get this done. Cool. We got to do this. And then it just became a time of like free flowing creation, where it's like, we're here, we're kind of doing this. We're just hanging out with each other. We're having a great time centered around something healthy, building healthy relationships, building healthy community, starting the concept of like reinforcing all of the good things all together in one. And it's kind of just inherent with this program. And so, big advocate for farm to school education. Love Aina in Schools program. I'm so happy that I still have the opportunity to be a part of them, 10 years later in any small capacity, and just to see what it's done, how much more common it is to walk onto a school campus and see a garden. Like it's kind of becoming a rule. now. It's not just, oh, look,
Good.
we've got a garden. It's like, oh, okay, where's your garden? That's the question now. So
yeah,
pretty cool. Pretty cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Thanks for having me. This was fun. I love to spread all things wellness.
Yes. And speaking of that, yes, Joli is also at Sunset Elementary every Sunday evening teaching foundation training.
Yep.
So if you haven't done that, check it out. Come check it out and look it up if you are curious about it. That's
we have
another rabbit
Instagram.
hole.
We have an Instagram called North Shore FT Instructors, and you can stay up to date on. We're there every Friday or every Sunday at 5. So come down, check us out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Joli. And I know I have many more things I want to ask you about personally with Aina in the schools, but we'll say goodbye and until next time. Thank you everyone for joining us.
Sweet. And thanks, guys.
Thank you. Aloha.
All right. Aloha.